Hey Trails Collective, Ian here for the weekly rundown of what's been shaking in the Northeast trail running world for the week ending July 20, actually I think it's July 30th, somewhere in there, let's just say that, 2021. As usual, hopefully this finds you all doing well, getting out there for some adventure. We had some breaks in the rain, I feel like the past few days, and the sun has been out. So hopefully it's been similar in your neck of the woods. While not too crazy hot, and you've been getting in some good stuff. All right, so for this episode, I will take you through a couple plugs for media pieces that caught my attention this week, what was shaken in my world this past weekend, and some of my own adventures, and some of the event registrations, I guess, about to cap out, about to open, some events that ran last week with a couple voices from the collective, and take you out with a couple of races coming up this weekend. All right, so let's dig into the rundown. All right, in the media, there were two articles that came across my feed that if they sound of interest, you can check them out. One is an article on I Run Far. It is from Sabrina Little, and it is on hospitality and tying in her times with the Virginia Happy Trails Running Club, a long-standing and amazing entity and crew down in Virginia. And Sabrina, for all of you who have not met Sabrina, splits her time, I think it's in Texas, and then here in New York in the Finger Lakes region, which I think her family goes back a ways. She's run my Cayuga Trails a few times. I think got to the point where she felt like she nailed it on the course and was a U.S. champion there for the 50-mile trail national championships, I think at least once, if not twice. But a wonderful individual and an incredible endurance athlete, and a great writer as well. So check that out. It is hospitality in the sport, which I think for sure probably rings true for most of us on what we really love and appreciate about the trail running community. Another one is on UltraSignUp. It's just a link. Eastern states, I guess, based on the number of individuals who aren't able to attend this year, maybe based on Canadian entrants and border crossings. They just announced that some slots did open up. I was initially in the Eastern States mix and decided that my vacation, family vacation starting that Sunday was a little bit more important probably than me going out and crushing myself. I didn't want to be totally dysfunctional going into family vacation, so I pulled out, and with my ankle wrecked a few weeks ago, probably a good thing anyway. Slots may still be open now. You can check it out on UltraSignUp if you are so inclined. All right, let's move into the UltraSignUp Hotlist. There are two here, one in Maryland. There's only two spots remained as of, I think it was Tuesday evening, for Fire in the Mountain 25K, 50K. It's slated for November 7th in Little Orleans, Maryland. And then in New York, Tesla Hertz runs 100K and 10 milers slated for October 9th in Rocky Point, New York. They are up 4% to being 96% full. So another jump this next week. We'll have them capping out. The 100K is only one spot remaining. Slots still do exist for the 50 and 100 milers with the 10 mile and 50Ks sold out. Registrations opening this next week. There's a bunch of them this coming up. July 31st, Howland Preserve Trail Race slated for Saturday, October 16th in Tunkhannock, PA. And the Devil Dog Ultras 100K 100 miles slated for December 4th in Triangle, Virginia. Will open reg on July 31st. On August 1st, the Chicora Mountain Race 25K slated for June 4th, 2022. The Bold Coast Bash 10, 20, 30 mile in Cutler, Maine on August 2nd. That is one that has also been on my bucket list. I was signed up for it last year, but was COVIDed. Too complicated to try to figure out the quarantine issues. And then they ended up having to cancel it for COVID anyway. So it is still on my list, even though I think it's like a 12-hour drive for me. But it looks absolutely beautiful. That will open August 2nd for registration, I think. The SMR Mayapple Trail runs kids 1 mile and then 10 and 20 miles and 50K races in Millburn, New Jersey are slated for October 16th. The Squatchy Leftovers 5K and 10K in Mountainside, New Jersey, running on November 27th. Pocantico Hills Marathon in Sleepy Hollow, New York on November 13th. And the Cabin Fever 50K slated for February 19th in the New River Gorge National Park, West Virginia, all open August 1st. And Cabin Fever, I did poke around on that one a bit. Also down in the New River Gorge with the, I think it's Rim to River, which had their I think their inaugural running last year, if I remember right. Just looks absolutely spectacular. So that is one that is on my radar. All right, let's get into a couple FKTs from this past week or so. In New Hampshire, Whitney Pearson completed the double presidential traverse. It is still pending confirmation, so I don't think that there's a time on it. I didn't dig in to see if I could find a Strava log to see it, but I am going to read just a piece from Whitney's, I don't know where she posted this. Actually, I can't remember where I found this. It may have just been on the FKT site. She writes, "Fast packing is an up-and-coming sport, and I'm so honored to be a part of the rapid growth, especially for women. This time around, I want to help promote a few great sources for the sport. The official FKT website is fastestknowntime.com, and they will once again be live tracking me since this is another premier route." And she goes on a little bit later. She says, "I also want to share a great hiking community specifically for women, Hiker Babes. Hiker Babes is completely free to join and offers chapters all over the world to help women gain inspiration and empowerment through movements such as their 100 Hike Challenge. You can find out more about this great source at hikerbabescommunity.org. And says, don't forget to check out their awesome online store. So for all of you hiker or ultra hiker babes out there, check that out. All right, and then in New York, there were a few. Anna Rysick, 2 hours, 22 minutes for the Chapanique Ridge Every Trail. It's an opening unsupported mark for this 11-mile assembly. I think if I remember right, it looked a little convoluted. Caitlin Rhodes, 13 hours, 7 minutes for the Bob Marshall Traverse. It is an opening women's unsupported mark. And then Bethany Gerritsen, 2 hours, 48 minutes for the Pitch Off Mountain, shaving 10 minutes off of Laura Tuttle's time for 2020. And it looks like this was maybe a warm-up or kind of a last shakeout good effort for Bethany, as she is slated to start on August 2nd for the Adirondack 46 High Peaks. An absolutely burly and incredible assembly going after the Adirondack 46. That's one we covered the race for pretty extensively, so to speak, last year. And I know the two individuals that were out there duking it out at that time are absolutely incredible. So Bethany, good on you for planning it, getting out there. I did touch base, wished her good luck, and my eyes will be on you. Go get it. And then on the national scene, Timothy Olson set a new supported Pacific Crest Trail mark. And I'll just read you quickly from the I Run Far post. On Thursday, July 22nd, ultra runner Timothy Olson set a new men's supported fastest known time on the 2,653-mile Pacific Crest Trail in the western United States. His time of 51 days, 16 hours, and 55 minutes, still to be confirmed. Best the previous record set by Carl Saab of 52 days, 8 hours, and 25 minutes in 2016. Olson started the PCT Southern Terminus on June 1st, hiking and running an average of 51.3 miles per day. Truly incredible. So Tim, good staying power, still being in the mix and going long and strong. Congrats, man. That's pretty incredible. All right, so results from this past week. July 24th in Maine, a race for the future 24-hour in Pownell went down. No results as of Tuesday night, and so I couldn't find anybody to check in with because I couldn't see the results. New Hampshire, Bear Brook Trail Races, 10K, half marathon, and marathon in Allenstown, New Hampshire. Also no results as of Tuesday night. I did read a couple of the clips. It sounds like there were some, I guess, course marking issues there. A good number of individuals got all confused. Sounds like with the 3 different races, it wasn't clear on markings, the distinction between the 3. And so people got all kinds of confused out there. So some people a little irritated, some people with good constructive feedback for next round, and some people just rolled with it. Not ideal, but came together as a trail community out there and just enjoyed the day. So big props to all of you in that latter group who are out there doing just that and flexing even when things don't go totally right. New Jersey, MCW Westfield Ultra, 3 hour, 6 hour, 9 hour, 12 hour, 24 hour. Was held in part to raise awareness and funds for the Mission Clean Water. In the 24-hour, Ed Eddinghausen of California emerged on top with 104 miles. Was second place overall and first female on the day, going to Colleen Drahos with 92 miles. In the distances down, the overall wins went to Daniel Nelson in the 12-hour with 50.4. My good friend Cole Crosby was 60 in the 9-hour. Rhiannon Shade with 38.4 in the 6-hour, and Nick Cruz with 22.4 in the 3-hour. So nice work to all of you out there. In New York, maybe the first annual, maybe the last 8-hour in Scottsville, New York went down. Of 49 finishers, Charles Worrell took the overall win with 44.8 miles covered, with second place and top women's spot going to Francesca Fuller with 38.4 miles. Both established new course records for this inaugural event. And I did check in with the RDs, Michael Vallone and Eric Egan, and they are hoping to get us a clip on this event to weave in next week. And the other one went down in New York. That was on my radar. The Wakely Dam Ultra 55K in Piseco, New York, up in the Adirondacks. Wakely is a classic event. Point to point, it's not many points to get out if you decide you need to bail. You're pretty much, once you're in, and you got to make it through. I think they were going in some pretty heavy rains, but it sounds like the conditions were better than anticipated. Full results weren't listed yet, but with thanks to my friend Jay Whitbourne, he nabbed a photo image of at least the top 14 on the event day while he was still there. And it appears that Logan Van Buren bested the prior course record of 4 hours, 47 minutes by 5 minutes, a pickup of 38 minutes over his prior time of 5 hours, 20 minutes from 2019. So that's some pretty incredible improvement. And I did check in with Jay and Logan both, and let's start with Jay. You cued me in ahead of time, sent me the results. Let's start with hearing from Jay on how Wakely went down.
Hey everybody, my name's Jay Whitbourne, and this past weekend I ran in the Wakely Dam Ultra. The Wakely is a 55K point-to-point style race. It's fully unsupported and held in the Adirondack State Park. The race takes place along the Northville Placid Hiking Trail, which is one of the oldest hiking trails in the country. And it was the first major project by the Adirondack Mountain Club, completed back in 1924. So it's got some good history to it. Because it is in the state park and takes place on the park land, the DEC does require the race directors to get a permit. And that permit is only allowing 60 participants per year. So it's a smaller race, but it's a great race. There's a lot of people that run it every single year or try to. I know there was a gentleman there this year that this was his 17th year in a row of completing it. It was my 3rd year in a row, and I'm looking forward to a 4th. So it's a great race. The race directors do a really good job. It's a very tight-knit community, and it's good to see everybody year to year. This year, there's a couple incidents that came up where we were not really sure how the trail conditions were going to be leading up to the race. The past 2 weeks, it was pretty wet and rainy up there. So we thought it was going to be actually more of a Tough Mudder style race than a trail race. But we were lucky. 4 days leading into the race, there was a lot of sun and it was warm, so the trails dried out. So we were all pretty surprised on Saturday morning when the trails were overall in pretty good shape. Another surprise was normally there's a shuttle bus that picks all the runners up at the finish line at about 5 in the morning and drives us all to the start line so that we can finish and have our cars waiting. Well, for the first time in 20 years, the bus actually never showed up. So the race directors scrambled pretty quickly, but were able to get enough drivers amongst all of the participants in the race that we could shuttle everybody up to the start line. And we were starting about an hour early, but it went off smoothly, and the race directors managed to get everybody's vehicle back to the finish line. So by the time we finished, everything was normal. Conditions that day were overall pretty good. It was not too warm, not too cool. There was plenty of water along the way. So if you wanted to stop, get something to filter, you didn't really go very far in between water spots. The bugs weren't bad like they normally are out there this time of year. And the mud was the mud. We all knew it was going to be there, but it wasn't as bad as anybody expected. I've personally been running in the Adirondacks a lot this summer through rain, mud, dry conditions, so it wasn't any different for me. And if somebody doesn't like to run in the mud, the Adirondacks isn't a place for them anyways. So this year, I went in with a plan to try and take off my time from 2019 and managed to shave off about an hour and 12 minutes, so I'm pretty content with that. Took 11th place overall, which is a huge improvement for me. There was a course record set this year. I think he came in at 4 hours 43 minutes, which is pretty quick, especially given the mud. But like I said, the air temperatures were really nice, so it was really good, easy moving through the woods. And again, I can't explain that this is a really nice race. It's a very community type style race. So if you like to get in and try and register for it, usually it's sold out within about 20 minutes of the opening. It does go through UltraSignUp. It's typically in March, but the race directors put out a notice through a Facebook page as to what day the registration will open for. So if you're looking for a really fun way to get into an Adirondack trail race with a bunch of really good people, this is the race for you. Weekly Dam 55K.
All right, so thanks, Jay, and big PR on his day over a prior performance. And Jay, for all of you who don't know him, is an incredible resource for the Adirondacks. He puts in a ton of time hitting all the trails and peaks up there. So congrats, Jay. And then Logan Van Buren, pretty incredible run for you. So let's hear how your day went down.
Hi everyone, I'm Logan Van Buren, and I just ran the Wakely Dam Ultra for the third time. So a little bit about Wakely. It's a 55-kilometer trail run through the West Canadian wilderness area. It is a self-supported trail run, so there is no aid stations or anything like that. You have to bring your own food, your own water, and your own way to filter water if you're out there for that long. They did this year, DEC had 3 rangers for us out on the trail as checkpoints to make sure everyone got through safe, and we actually ended up using those DEC officers. 2 of our runners got injured, and the DEC officers went out and helped get them safely out of the woods. So thank you to those DEC officers out there. We really appreciate you and everything you do for us. But you know, Wakely is a super, super meaningful race to me. It's what got me into ultra running. It's what got me into trail running. It's what started this bug, this itch to just go further, longer, and faster. So I love this race. I love this course. It's great. Going into the race this year, I was, with all the rain, I was a little nervous, but I didn't let it get to my head. I didn't let it get into my original goal. I didn't let it mess with that. The course was pretty wet and pretty muddy compared to the previous 2 years I've run it. But I didn't let that get in the way. There was a few racers who went out a week or two prior to the race just to do a pre-race run of the course. They did it in a two-day section. And there was a few pretty dangerous river crossings that they shared to the Wakely Dam Facebook page. They ended up swimming a pond to get around one of the rivers and showing some pretty ridiculous mud out there. So luckily we had about a 4-day dry period of no rain, or very little rain comparatively to what we were experiencing, and that dried some of the course out, and it made the river crossings very less dangerous, where you could actually cross the rivers and not have to worry about getting swept down. So that being said, I didn't let any of that get in the way of my original plan to go out there and try to chase down that course record. I kept in mind that we're just gonna go out, we're gonna see what happens, and we're gonna have fun doing it. Going into the race, I felt pretty fit. I felt ready to go. 2 years of just really long, slow distance training. This summer, I probably had my top mileage is 104. I did that for 1 week, and everything else was 80 to 90, a few 70s. Coming into the race, I dropped my mileage significantly, where I was running 60, 40, I think 30 before the race. So I felt very, very fit coming into the race. I felt strong. 2 years of really solid just base training, slow, long distance, really seemed to benefit me in how I did during the race. So the race shook out. The race was the race went very well for me. It was, you know, I don't know if I could have asked for a better race in the conditions we were handed. You know, the first 16 miles were fairly dry. It was less muddy than I thought. There was a 400-foot section of old beaver dam that was flooded out, which that was probably the worst out of the whole first 16 miles. But that last 16 were pretty muddied, where you couldn't get too many runnable sections, and you know, you got to the last 8 miles. It got pretty runnable, which was good. You know, made up a lot of time there. But overall, the course was in better shape than I think a lot of us thought it was going to be going in, which was perfect. It was really good. I have no races coming up anytime soon. I haven't planned any right now. I'm kind of shifting from the ultra mindset into the cross country mindset. That'll make my my cross country coach pretty happy, I think. But yeah, that's it for me. Happy trails.
So again, congrats, Logan. That is pretty incredible, and looking where you continue to go from here, given your young buck status. And I would have loved to check in with a women's top finisher on that as well, but again, couldn't see the results just yet. All right, and the last one was in Vermont. It was the Mount Sparta 24-hour challenge in Pittsfield, and no results were yet posted as of Tuesday night. And on the kind of Spartan website, I have tried to learn what the deal is with Spartan crew up there. I think the focus is maybe not so much on these trail races anymore. It's really difficult to find any useful information on their website. So I think that's just not the focus. Or they're making it Spartan in terms of finding any information on it. In any case, hopefully you all had a good weekend up there if it ran. All right, upcoming this weekend, July 31st in Connecticut, Escape from Castle Craig, five-person relay in Meriden, Connecticut. In Massachusetts, the Jug End Loop Trail 4.2 mile and 6 hour race in Egremont. In Maryland, the Endless Summer 6 hour in Annapolis. In New York, Beast of Burden 25, 50, and 100 mile in Lockport, New York. Good luck to the crew from Happily Running, Vinny and Nicole, taking that over this year and keeping it going. Mighty Mosquito, a 99-miler and relay in Honeoye Falls, and the Harriman Big Bear Squatch 7-miler and half marathon in Tuxedo, New York, put on by Kim and crew. And in Vermont, Moosaloomoo Ultra 14 and 36-miler in Goshen, Vermont. Miners Lady 8-hour. Actually, let's plug West Virginia. Miners Lady 8-hour in Harper's Ferry. And the last one, skipping back to Vermont, is the Mozo Double Up 11-miler in Stowe. And I am bouncing back to that one to end this because it ties into what I did last weekend. So for those of you who don't know, this was the Mozo Double Up was in its origin the Mansfield Double Up. It was on my radar for the past couple of years and definitely is one of my bucket list events. It just looked spectacular. It was taken over by Will and crew this year and renamed it to a more native origin name, Mozo Double Up. And even so, they ended up giving us the notice on Friday that they were going to postpone per the rain projection for the weekend. It's already a pretty small race. It caps out at 70, but also I think on thin ice, so to speak, on permitting and impact. It runs from the base of Stowe Resort up and around Mount Mansfield before coming back down. 11 miles, gains I think about 4,500 feet, give or take. And it is spectacular. So they made the decision to postpone on Friday. I still had a house booked, and so we went up there anyway. And myself and a couple friends synced with a local from up there, Becca Waldo, who was setting out to preview the course as she was racing it as well. And we were thankful to latch on to Becca and just share the day out there. And it did prove to be a totally beautiful course. My quads are still feeling it a bit. I haven't been running as much, given my ankle's still thrashed. But it was spectacular. A pretty technical single track, 2 or 3 miles to start, gains a couple thousand feet in those opening miles, undulates along the ridge for a bit before getting out of exposed rock on the ridge up there, drops down before coming back up the backside of Mount Mansfield, and just getting some beautiful rock scrambling Beautiful views, beautiful vistas, and really just a remarkable course. Up top, it does dip in for, I don't know, half mile or mile or so of a really technical, gnarly, almost feels bushwhacky section, which drops down below the ridge. Pretty cool, but definitely seems pretty nuts to race through that section before wrapping back down and descending to this bottom of Stowe. So the course for sure didn't disappoint. We had a beautiful day out there, and I was thankful that I just emerged with my ankle tolerating it. I'm surrounded by gear. I don't know whether, you can all tell me what you think, whether I talk about gear enough in some of the reviews I've done in the past, or whether you'd like to hear me weigh in on some of it in some of these weekly rundowns. But having specialty stores over the years, still owning one, I've kind of lived in the gear world for a while. And so for what was on my plate this past weekend was trying to figure out the appropriate gear combination to accommodate my ankle. So my ankle, I do have some torn connective tissue down there, but it may also be a fractured fibula. I'm not going to have it scanned. I feel like it's an unnecessary medical expense there. I wouldn't treat it much differently. Fibula is a non-weight bearing bone. I'm not too concerned about it, and you can kind of go without it, so to speak. So what I did was on the footwear, in case any of you are in a similar situation where you also get a little bit banged up. Of all the bajillion shoes in my arsenal, so to speak, I went with a Saucony Switchback, or in this case a Switchback 2. A really cool, low-profile shoe from Saucony. It's got a boa lace on the outside. Really soft, flexible, really excellent ground feel. And what I was after was a shoe that had a really low profile. If I did come down to the outside, what I really didn't want to happen, and which happened when I really thrashed my ankle a few weeks ago, was the higher you make that stack height, the greater the cantilever when you pitch over. So when I came down on the outside, the whole shoe torqued over. In that case, in that moment, I was wearing the VJ Ultra back here. Pitched over the outside, and it just did a lot more damage than if I were wearing a low profile shoe. So for this one, I wanted to be sure that I had some cushioning there, but also, again, being as close as I could to not pitch over. I also picked up, I don't have with me, an ankle brace, so I was running in an ankle brace for the first time. So both of those worked. I was using poles to maintain balance in case I did come down or lose my balance. I didn't want my ankle to have to take that. So I was using a pair of Z poles, and they worked great. I wore it was a really pretty hot day out there. We were sweating like beasts. I wore a Patagonia, in this case it was an Air Chaser shirt. Air Chaser, for those who haven't found, I think Patagonia is making some of the nicest apparel on the market. It's not just going after the name, but it's truly amazing apparel functionally. It's wicked light, really breathable, dries really fast, really perforated in the back. And so even though I was sweating a beast going up that initial climb, the shirt never really felt heavy. It breathed well, and it actually dried throughout the day. Down below, I was wearing the Ultimate Direction Hydro Skin Shorts. These I have absolutely loved. I think I've worn them in every race this past year, as well as longer training efforts. It's a fitted short. The fabric is fairly thicker, so it stays put on the legs. They've got two deep drop-in pockets on either leg, which you can pack a ton into. And it also has two 10-ounce bottles on either hip, as well as a center envelope pocket where you can put a phone in. So for me, I had the phone in there, grabbing the GPS track, and I had the two 10 ounces here. We were out for probably 4 hours. I went pretty light on hydration, as I often do, for better or worse. So I think I only consumed maybe 20 to 30 ounces maybe in those 4 hours. But this worked well. I didn't have to wear a vest up top. It kept it cooler on the top, and it was just nice. This short is only, I think, in the Ultimate Direction lineup through maybe the end of this year, and then I think it's phased out in 2022. We do have some left, so let us know if you are interested in those. So, and then nutrition front, in addition to just having water in my bottles, I went with the GU Liquid Energy. My stomach has started turning on gels and much of the sport product the past couple years. I tolerated it for maybe the past 15, but it's, I think, finally done with a bunch of it. But on this day, I went with the liquid energy, and it goes down really smooth. It's pretty light. It doesn't give you kind of the gross gel texture, and it tended to work well. And I could pack a bunch of these in and ended up giving them out to my crew that was out there. But I'm really thankful for those of you who have not yet checked out the Mozo Double Up. It definitely held on how tough the course was. I have it in the, I think it's the 10-ish mile category for the toughest trail races in the Northeast. For sure, check that article or those articles out if you haven't yet. And I think that I'm glad that I did put it there. Really burly course, but absolutely beautiful. So if you're not in it this year, put it on your radar for next year. Just don't take my spot, as it's got a pretty low cap. And I will see you out there. So good luck to all those running or putting on races this year, going after your own adventures. Thanks for tuning in. As always, thanks to all of you who are supporting us in Patreon support or taking the time. And I really do appreciate it if you just like this video, drop it on your own page, share it. And again, I'd love for an ambassador army out there to just plug it on various groups and lists, and just any little bit helps, and I really appreciate it. So thanks so much. I will check in with you next week. And until then, see ya!